What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today for you, I've got something a little different. So what I want to kind of dive into are army compositions and a little bit more into building your team and just not necessarily tips, but more or less what your commanders specialize in and the way you should be building them, either with their skills or how many units they should be using with, and what kind of units you should be building with them with too, like dwarves, fire damage, ranged. So with all that being said, let's dive right into it. So I kind of want to go into three ones that are right off the top of my head that I can think of that are like one, two, and three army units, and then the way I have them set up. So first up, I've got the first three right here. I've got Faramir, Arwen, and Kern. So kind of the way that you see I have them set up, I have three different setups all in each. They do all have Iron Warriors, don't get me wrong, but they are kind of my tier 4 in the dwarves. So I would honestly, in most situations, I would use your tier 4 unit, like, marshals in this case, or, several units like that. But let's dive into Faramir real quick. So I've got them set up right now with Ram Riders, snipers, and Iron Warriors. So the biggest reason why I like the snipers so much, for instance, and this is playing to Faramir's traits necessarily and kind of the way that he's built. So they've got Bullseye right here, and against enemy ranged units, they do 30% more damage, and they prioritize them. So I really like that, with especially with us going against Linden, for instance, and Bocav being a pretty popular cavalry, for instance. I really like this, and then full protection damage reduced from melee units. You see, in my opinion, the reason why I like them so much is you're going to have either melee or you're going to have ranged. Most of the times they include both. So I think that this really is such a. I mean, I've noticed I just cleave through almost every time the Nordor long shots with these guys in the group. So let's say, okay, so you see their speed right here, 68. 68. I want to, you keep that in the forefront of your minds. 68 speed. So the Iron Warriors are just good overall. I mean, they're so good. Okay, so just that's the reason why I'm using them. High defense, really high HP. They are 50 per command. Keep that in mind. 54 speed. That's important too. 30 to 34 damage. Solid unit. Ram Riders. So this is where kind of I big brain a little bit, and so the reason why I like them so much. You don't really pair Ram Riders sometimes with the cavalry commanders because they're the slowest. They're the slowest. So the reason why that's important is because with their speed being 107 and being some of the slowest cavalry in the game, this is not hitting on units, for instance, that this would proc at the end of the turn. So if you have your marshals hitting first and then the ram riders, well, the trample is not going off on the units until after the marshals have already hit. That's the reason why I don't like pairing them with the cavaliers, for instance, because they only have one round to do a bunch of damage, and trample is something that you want to try and hit on an enemy, and then the cavaliers want to come in and hit them on top of that. So that's a big reason why if I use the ram riders, I use them with infantry or archers or slow units in general. So, okay, so you see I've got Fairmare right here with 3 units, and the reason up where I left off right here before that, we've got Arwen. So Arwen pairs really well with, and the main reason I'm using the snipers, sometimes I swap it out the bow cow, for instance. These are just unit I'm not going into the abilities just yet, I just want to show you. So Arwen pairs really well with these 2 units. I do like to use her a little bit more with high HP units, but the Iron Warriors are a given. Really high HP, really high defense, but the full protection is mainly it, and going up against Linden is the bigger one. So range units. Kieran, so the way I've got him set up is he works best with 1 unit or 3, in my opinion, and most of the time they're going to be both melee, if possible. So let's go into the abilities and the reason why I have these teams set up the way they are right now. So, oh, that's right. Sorry about that. Commanders. So let's go into Arwen. Well, actually, we'll start off with Faramir since I did it first. So guide. Guide is the biggest reason of why you should be using 3 units. So, like for instance, whenever you see something like this and it says affects all allied units. All allied units. So that's whether it's 1, 2, or 3 units on the field. And while this has increased the army gains some immunity, this is really effective whenever you have 3 units on the field because it gives you 3 times the chance to proc all of this damage. So if you have 1 unit, you do a bunch of damage with that 1 unit, don't get me wrong, whenever they attack. But you're not really getting the full effect because let's just say they hit. If they have any sort of status effect on them that prevents them from attacking or anything like that, they don't really get the full effect of the ability because that 1 round went by and well, there's your 45%, it's gone. But if you have 3 units and only one of them gets like madness, for instance, or something like that, it's only affecting one of the units in general. And then this right here, foresight. So, for instance, all allied units. That's a really crucial thing about why it's important to build units around your commanders and how many you should be using per army, things like that. So, first 4 turns, all allied units 40% chance to ignore enemies' avoidance status. I did have this maxed first, for instance, whenever Oathbreakers were still on their thing, but really Gandalfs are the biggest ones that have avoidance status. So I wanted to at least get a few points in there. And then here, so allied units, all 3 of them. So all 3 of them. It's a whole lot of all allied units. That gives you a good indication that you should be using 3 units over 1, for instance, or 2. Not to say that they're not good with just 1 or 2, but it's just building your units to the best of their abilities. You see, you might point out right here, oh, PvP, what about the 1 allied units right here? It's about what outweighs it most of the time, and that's going to be the biggest crucial thing is like, whenever it says 1 allied units, but really you have 3 things going for you. Actually 4 with Ranges of Illifen, because all units gain initiative the next round after this ability procs. So you have 4 abilities going for you over the 1 ability. So it's not really worth it to go into 1 ability. And then you can also go into an ability as well. So this is men. It would kind of be like almost like a tree, of knocking off, guide, foresight, hair, and then ability. So you'd want to run 3 units all men. So like cavaliers, like marksmen or like guards of the tower, just a random, unit comp of all men with that full 21%, which is a huge deal. Let's go into Arwen. So Arwen, let's go into why you build 2 units with Arwen. Primarily. So these 3 abilities are going to be key right here. So Unimul, and this is R0 too, by the way. So that's pretty important too, is R0 as well. We'll dive into some of the other abilities here. But 2 allied units, 2. So this also happens in the pre-phase as well. So before this even, this isn't every round it chooses 2 units. It's these 2 units are already pre-decided whenever the pre-phase goes on. And if you only have 2 units, then there you go. They're proccing on those 2 units 100% of the time. So if you had 3, for instance, in this instance, you would be like, oh, but what if the snipers don't get hit all around, but Undamul popped on it? So that's another big reason why you need to run 2 units with more or less 2 high HP or high defense units with Arwen. I was running Bocav whenever I was on RP server. Or not really RP, but really Season 1. So I was running, I was actually using the Swan Knights with Bocav. So that was one indication of like 2 high HP units that I was using. So, but 35% chance of recovering 40 HP, and whenever it's max, it's all types of damage. So Cleansing Touch, another one right here, 2 allied units, recover this, and then randomly remove 1 debuff. That's huge as well. But 2 allied units right here again, recover 60% HP, 50% chance of reactivating again. So now you might be saying, oh, PvP, what about the Queen of the United Kingdoms because of it doing all allied units? This is one of those indications where it's like the Unimul heals outweigh the damage reduction applying to 3 units. But Parting Gift too, but Parting Gift is only on round 8, and a lot of commanders' damage are done, like the shadows and people with those delayed abilities that hit around 6 or 7. That is a lot of damage, but I feel like at that point you're probably dead already. I feel like if you make it to that far, it's usually... Now, Arwen is a round 10 commander. I always like to use that kind of term. That someone is a round 10 commander. Healing commanders stick it out, So, for instance, but let's do, like, you see Boone right here, all allied units. Men and elves, for instance. But this isn't playing to our strong points, I would just like to say. if you know Min and L's attack, they already have they already have small. If this was dwarves, this would be so different. This would completely change coalition and how a lot of people build them because master throwers would be extremely broken. So that's the reason why this isn't too good. L's already have like a 36 or in 37 range. Like it's like 1 damage. That's not even worth it. I know Min have a little bit more of a range, maybe 5 damage at times, but that's usually it. Some of the cavalry can get a little bit higher of a range, but she does have an ability here. But this isn't kind of the biggest investments. Sorry about that. Um, but Lady Rivendell, this is just her damage abilities. Just a little bit of damage I've just thrown in there. River's Wrath only procs once. I've already looked. I don't know. I think this procs in round 6. But it really only procs once in the battle though, so that's the reason why I just don't max that anymore. Alright, so let's dive into Kieran. Probably the one where people are probably wondering the most about why you should build this guy with 1 unit. So the first thing too is this is kind of building a little bit to your items, partly, but even still without this item, I would still be doing 1 unit anyway. So just keep that in mind. But this kind of plays more into the fact of all. So keep this in mind of the Noldor sword. First 3 rounds, the allied commander has 30% chance of performing an additional attack each round. So keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your head. So the biggest one is right here, Sand Soldier. 1 allied units recover 80% HP upon dealing damage. So I had to actually go into some testing to actually figure out. I thought that Sand Soldier applied to like the Iron Warriors, for instance, and whenever they attacked, they healed. The way this actually works is this applies to Kieran attacking and not the troops. So whenever Kieran attacks, a troop is picked and they recover 80%. You know, this isn't like Undamol where in the pre-phase that one soldier is throughout the entire turn. No, this is every round Kieran will randomly pick a soldier after he attacks. So I do also think this is whenever for instance if Madness affected the commander, I do think that this would still proc. I haven't honestly gone up against a Madness affecting commander. But I would reason to suggest that the Sand Soldier would still go off. Now, if he's Madness, he might heal the enemy as well. So that's also something as well, since this applies to him. So keep that in mind as well. But this is the reason why right here. Now, this is another big one about why you could possibly run 3. Right here is Frontline Rescue. 3 melee units. If I were to run 3, it'd be Ram Riders, Iron Warriors, and something like that. But I just really like. You see, this is a one-time heal. This is a every round and possibly twice, depending on the Noldor sword proccing. You know, the 1 allied unit healing twice. It's honestly so good. I really enjoy these 2 skills. I think they're really good. Kieran's really the best healer that the evil side has, from what I've seen. So it's nice to play to his effects as well. He's actually someone I really wanted as well. I got really lucky. Easterling 2, normal attacks cause enemy stats. This also plays to Noldor as well, because the commander, whenever he also hits, this could possibly happen on two enemy troops as well. So it's a little bit more about playing into my items, partly. I don't want to say that's the full reason though, but things just kind of worked out that way. 50% chance of reducing physical damage. This applies to the whole units. Same way with this right here, so melee units as well. So this is another reason why you want to run melee 1 troop or 3 troop. I wouldn't do 2. You know, maybe I would do Ram Riders and Iron Warriors. I did see a pretty nasty level 50 with just Fallen. I actually couldn't beat it because Kieran was healing for so much, and it was impossible to do. I'm going to be honest. I actually couldn't do it. It was such a crazy setup. But this right here, these ability now if I had R5 Kieran, I would build him with Corsairs completely. I do like him honestly having tankiness. Like honestly, with the Guardians, I'd probably run him with Guardians. The Corsairs are not really tanky. He's honestly best with a set of War Chariots. Only those if you were playing Rune, which is like one of the 5 players that play Rune. But Tribal Tactics is one of the reasons why I would build him with full Corsairs, I wouldn't build him with Dragoons. I think he needs a little bit of damage in his kit because he has none. He's not just, he needs a little bit of some unit damage. Partly the reason why I like him with Iron Warriors, they do a good deal of damage. Corsairs die a little bit too quick for my liking, but I think using him to his fullest is with Fallen completely on his own. But that's with tier fours though as well. I know I'm using them right now, but I think you should like, for instance, like if I was using the marshals with this guy, I would definitely do like a full Easterling path right here. Do these and then do this, but I wouldn't go into this, but I would still get that. But Lord of the Sand is honestly really good. You have so many stuns. I don't think people realize how many stuns this guy has in his kit. It's literally 3. This guy is absolutely broken. I don't care what anyone says. But all right, that's beside the point though. Those are the main 3. The Witch King. I just really want to go over those 3. Um, like for instance, just run off the bat, just Ring Wraith, really good with fire units, really good with poison units, focus, partly the reason why the Shadow is so good, Undertaker, really good, Ring Wraith affects everyone, you do more poison damage. Things like that, you'll notice with your commanders, and this is really just overarching, there's a lot of different commanders as well that do it, focus on those all allied units, 2 allied units are really like the Karen with 1 allied unit being affected per round almost. Figure out which one outweighs the most, and use that to determine how many units you should be using per commander. Like Arwen's really good with 2. The reason why, like Arwen, for instance, is really good. Like possibly starting. I also have a really high respect, but 2 units. You can really pump out 2 units. Whenever you're conscripting 3, I think you're at your best though. That's the reason why Gandalf is really good. Gandalf works well with 3 units as well. But he works really well with like 2 as well. Gandalf's just honestly overpowered. But alright guys, I'm just dragging on the video at this point. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found this video useful. I've just been seeing some crazy things out there, and I really just wanted to try and take some time out to discuss army compositions and the like. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.